As we record this week's program, there's no compromise in Washington yet on how to proceed with the impeachment trial of the president in the Senate. The Republican majority wants to move forward without any bipartisan deal about the structure of the trial. Democrats in the House are using their only weapon, delay, by not forwarding the articles of impeachment to the Senate. Now, it was 20 years ago this week that the impeachment trial of President Clinton actually started. Both parties managed to agree on the ground rules then. I brought up the impeachment fight during my conversation with Senator Dick Durbin. Do you think it's appropriate for House Speaker Nancy Pelosi to delay handing over the articles of impeachment?
What she's asked Senator McConnell, the Republican leader of the Senate, is what the trial is going to include, whether there'll be evidence offered, witnesses, documents, and Senator McConnell will not make a commitment on that. I can understand the frustration of Speaker Pelosi. At some point, she will send the articles over, the trial will start. We can only hope that 4 Republican senators will join the Democrats in making certain that it's a fair trial and one that looks like a real trial. The idea of having a trial without witnesses, that's not a trial, it's a cover-up.
Well, don't the American people and the president actually have a right to move promptly?
Well, of course they do. But in this situation, it's going to take several weeks. I've been through this before with President Clinton. I know it's not going to be done overnight, nor should it be. We need to do it seriously and do it fairly. Give the president his opportunity to present any evidence he wishes to present, and of course those on the other side to present their evidence. That's what a real trial is about.
Do you worry, though, politically, that the Democrats, by what's being considered a delaying tactic, might wind up paying the price politically?
I can tell you what the American people have said. They've said that they want to have witnesses and documents at the trial. They understand what a trial looks like. They've said that overwhelmingly, Republicans as well as Democrats. I hope Senator McConnell's listening.
Well, Senate Majority Leader McConnell did indicate this week he proposes a trial that would follow the structure used for Bill Clinton's trial now 20 years ago to this week, actually. Both parties then agreed to put off the decision on calling new witnesses until that trial had already started. Why isn't that good enough for the Democrats now?
Well, it isn't as if Senator McConnell has agreed to a trial. He's agreed to opening a trial. When it comes to the evidence, the witnesses, and the documents, he's not made any public commitment that they'll even be allowed. Remember, under the Clinton situation, there had been an extensive investigation in advance of the actual impeachment trial by Ken Starr. We had sworn testimony under oath from the President of the United States and a long list of witnesses. This is a different situation. This administration has refused to cooperate at any level in providing documents or witnesses. So it's understandable when we say if there's a real trial, there are at least 4 people, one of whom has volunteered if he's subpoenaed, at least 4 people who should be testifying.
By that refusal by so many members of the Trump administration to testify before the House side of things, and the ineffectiveness of being able to hear those witnesses, does that render Congress relatively ineffective or useless if they're not able to hold the Trump administration accountable in any way?
Well, it raises an important question. In fact, the question has led to one of the counts of the impeachment. If a president of the United States can refuse to cooperate and provide any information, documents or witnesses, when he's accused of wrongdoing in office, does that mean the case is finished? If it does, it means that the president, who might have been guilty of wrongdoing, has got the excellent escape. He can just basically say, I'm not going to cooperate, which this president has done. I believe it's important that every president be required to provide information, public information, so the public can judge as to whether they misuse their office.
Now, 20 years ago, the Democrats themselves fought against introducing new witnesses when it was the Clinton trial. This time, you want these witnesses. How do you respond to people who might say that's being hypocritical among the Democrats?
Well, we ended up with 4 witnesses that were deposed, and their depositions were available to all the senators to see. And of course, in every case, we were dealing with people who had already given sworn testimony before grand juries and other inquiring groups. So it isn't as if we were saying no evidence, no witnesses. We were saying what is presently there is sufficient. And the question was, according to the Republicans, whether Monica Lewinsky herself would testify. That was really the only question of live testimony before us.
Would you expect this trial to have live testimony or follow depositions like there was 20 years ago? What is your preference?
Well, I'm open to either one, to be honest with you, but I hope that we can agree in advance that if it's going to be a real trial, it's going to have real evidence with documents and witnesses. This notion that we will deny the evidence, deny the witnesses, and somehow bring it to a quick close, I don't think serves the cause of justice, and I don't believe the American people are going to buy it as a fair result.
What do you think is behind the differences this time as opposed to 20 years ago when the majority leaders were able to come up with, and actually the entire Senate was basically unanimous, I believe, in coming up with the trial procedures? Why is it so partisan this time?
Well, I think it's different this time because even the president's party, and I was part of it in the last impeachment trial involving President Clinton, we were determined to have the evidence before us. There was no question about it. In this case, President Trump has refused to provide any witnesses, any evidence, cooperate in any way. The House of Representatives called some 14, 15 different witnesses, and none of them were direct parties or witnesses to the conversation that led to this impeachment charge. But it's a much different approach. The president from the start has said he refused to cooperate in any way. I just don't think that's consistent with what the forefathers had in mind with the Constitution.
What outcome do you expect now from the impeachment trial in the end?
In the end, I would say it would be surprising if 67 senators would vote for impeachment. There are 47 Democrats. The likelihood of 20 Republicans joining us is a long shot.
My conversation with Senator Dick Durbin.